All right, I've got my friend Debbie De La Riva here from Houston, the great glory land of Houston, calling in today. And Debbie, it is so great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us for our summer leadership weekend.
No, my pleasure. I'll do anything for you, Jonathan. I love what you do for us, and I always want to see an email every day. Thank you for everything you do. But
Oh.
that would be excessive.
Well, I would receive it. I would take it. I know to the world, you are known as the mental health expert, and you started a company a while back that's called Mental Health Matters too, and
Hmm.
really have I mean, you even go as far back as having a degree in counseling, psychology. You've done so much as a professional counselor, and of course, being an executive director of a chapter for so long, and then of course you went into so many other aspects of that field, and you having been affected personally with your own family story of having hemophilia, you have just run the gamut from every angle. And I think of you when I think about leadership, and that's kind of our topic this weekend. When I think about leadership, there's a very small list of people that come to mind that have really been transformational in their leadership, and you are one of those people, and so grateful for all that you've done for our community and for us, and even for me. Every time I talk to you, you help my mental health tremendously. So thank you for being here, and thanks for all that you do for the community.
Awesome. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about Mental Health Matters too. How's that going, and what are you talking about lately? And then also maybe catch us up to speed on how COVID has kind of impacted some of the speaking opportunities that you've been on lately.
Yeah, it's just kind of taken a life of its own. I mean, I started out Mental Health Matters too because I wanted to see in our community kind of a one-stop shop place for people to go to figure out about how mental health is affecting all the things for a community. I mean, that was the idea, to have that one place where people can look for resources associated with getting mental health, care and support. And I wanted to, develop a couple of different presentations that would make sense for people dealing with stress or are dealing with them how to help other people in the community, because like, Jonathan, I know that your phone rings all the time about people in a tough spot, and I wanted to have that mental health first aid to help people know how to navigate that conversation.
That's
And then yeah, and so then I thought, well, gosh, why don't we just have a place too where some recent research can go, and so people who don't have access to maybe these big, medical and psychological journals could go in to figure out some information for us. I think for the first time, normal people or the average person is going to understand what mental illness, what mental health conditions actually feel like. It is
wow.
being anxious every single day. So
Mm,
I think that might be a silver lining
yeah.
to dealing with the stigma, is that people go, oh, I get it. You just can't stop thinking about it. Or
It's true. Yeah, I think the enemy of progression in areas like this often is a lack of empathy. And there's no other better way to create a heightened sense of empathy in our community than experiencing it. And unfortunately,
Mhm.
you'd never wish on anyone that they would have to go through heightened anxiety for any reason. But you're so right when you talk about how so many more people are affected. We found that loneliness has increased. We found that people are feeling more isolated than ever. We found that people are definitely feeling the pressures of financial strain because of lack of employment, or maybe having to navigate programs such as the unemployment programs or COVID response programs. That has created its own stress, and so it's really amazing to see how in these environments, I think everybody starts to connect with, oh, wait a minute, you don't have to be somebody that's diagnosed with some rare
Yeah.
disorder. Anybody can experience mental health challenges.
So I just developed this short workshop called Maintaining Your Mental Health During Times of Uncertainty, and
Mm,
it's been flying off like pancakes. But it really just takes just time to help people educate themselves about their brains, how they operate under stress, and give real time techniques proven techniques on how to
Wow.
get control again. So I really enjoy doing that.
It's so good. And your website is such a, has a plethora of resources. I really want to encourage anybody that hasn't visited it yet to do so. We're going to put it in the comments right now so that you can see it,
Oh,
but
wonderful.
it's Mental Health Matters .com, and you can learn a whole lot more about your sessions and resources, but also there is quite a bit of research on there, and you've given even
Mhm.
I've noticed a lot more resources been coming down the line, and
Right.
it's just really, really impactful to see, that highlighted, but also to have some solutions around it. One of the things you've done with us that I've just appreciated so much has been your mental health first aid
Mhm.
certification program. We asked a couple years ago for all of our Hope Group leaders to go through that course, and I think pretty much everyone now is certified through that program, and it's a 3-year lasting certification,
Mhm.
and it is so well. I've heard of over and over and over again from a lot of our volunteers that they'd say, "Man, I just feel so much better equipped because I encounter people who are going through a difficult
Mhm.
time, and even for themselves, like how to navigate and what resources to call on when and employ when they have certain crises going on." And I just appreciate you doing that program. I just think that it's so needed. I mean, people. The one thing that always strikes me, Lori Kelly. We were talking the other day, and she was telling me. She says, I love how she phrases this. She says that it was her passion and her dream to try to end or at least limit unnecessary suffering. And I love that phraseology because in so many ways, the work that you're doing and have done has been just exactly that. It's to really put an into, I think people, when they feel isolated, they think that they're the only ones that are experiencing that. And by highlighting the topic and bringing it up, I think it really just says, hey, listen, we're all human and we all
Right.
face, here's the commonalities, and it might be more common than you think. And by just making some of those things that we think are extreme or we think that they're taboo to talk about as a normal everyday conversation, then all of a sudden it does open the conversation lines to start bringing in a more healthy perspective. What would you say to somebody who has maybe not been involved lately, but they're watching this right now and they're seeing all this and they're like, man, how do I get involved? Because I don't really have a chapter maybe in my area, or maybe I just don't
Right.
know how to get connected. But what would you say to somebody like that would what are the benefits of them getting involved and getting connected to community?
No, and I feel so excited by what you just said because it's true. A lot of people get stuck in these boxes that, oh, yes, I've been to conferences before, but I really can't find anything for me. Or people feel forgotten in our community. So, what I would say to them is that you're valued, you're needed, and please come back. And just, I was looking at your questions about leadership in general, and it kind of got me thinking about the same thing, Jonathan. What could I say to somebody to encourage them to even come back in a leadership position?
Yeah.
Because I I thought about how did I get here, and it was because I said yes.
Mm.
I somebody asked me, "Do you want to be a trustee on the Lone Star Chapter Board of Directors?" I didn't even know what one did, what even what it was, and I said yes, and that led to executive director, and and so if you could just say yes and be in that space and get rid of that self doubt or
Mm.
all those other reasons that you're thinking, I don't have time, I don't have energy, I have nothing about to to offer. You could just put those negative thoughts away and
Mm.
say yes and put yourself in those thoughts, and then it just leads, and then you develop or you see these things in you that you didn't even know you had.
Yeah, taking that risk to just step out and, like you said, just to say yes when the opportunity arises. I've heard that from a lot of leaders over the years. They just say, like, if you want to be a person of influence, you can't say no. You got to say yes to every opportunity that you can, and I think that there's a value to that to some degree.
Mm.
I think it's important that you have those friendships and those relationships with people who are maybe of the same age group as you, or maybe they're going through the
Right.
same season of life in living with a bleeding disorder, or maybe they're going through some sort of experience that all those changes in life, they affect everybody differently, but
Smart.
it's good to be connected to people of like mind that have been down that road before that you have, just so that you can have those resources, and they probably know some shortcuts that you might not know yet, and it's worth investing time and energy into those relationships now when you're maybe not in the heat of a crisis, so
Hmm.
that if there is a crisis, you have somewhere to go and something to lean on.
I'm so glad you said that because you know how it is, Jonathan. We've been in this community for so long that we know all the different organizations and programs, and I
Right.
just kind of think everybody knows them, but
Right.
but no. And so I redid the resource guide in February or January of this year, and so I added a whole page to just ways of connecting within the bleeding disorder community. And of course,
I
hope
love
is
that.
way up
I
there.
love that.
There's a really cool young adult in New York that started Live Smart, Play Smart, where people can get real and talk about what it's really like to live with a bleeding disorder. I mean, I don't know how anyone would find that person unless
Right.
they saw it on that page and saved one life in that issue, you know.
Right.
So he's a
Right.
really neat kid. Be sure and check him out.
That's so brilliant. I love that. That's near and dear to my heart. If you're watching this today, I know that I want make sure that you take a minute to get connected. Send us a message on Facebook or an email, or reach out to Debbie through her website, Mental Health Matters Too, and just get involved, because that's we need you. You have value, just like Debbie said, and we need you. So. I'm so grateful for all that you do with that, Debbie. And do you have any events coming up or anything that we should be aware of?
Yeah, I'll definitely dive into that. But I just got to thinking that one thing we haven't figured out about this virtual situation is now that we have access to the World Federation meeting that just went off, what this took place. Oh my gosh! And now with HFA and AHF coming up. So if you weren't involved in the past, you just want to check it out. That is going to be a great place, and all you have to do is click the button, and
Such
you'll
a
be
good point.
there. And yeah, so what I'm doing right now is continue to do maintaining your mental health through times of uncertainty. And HFA has stepped up to the plate, and they're helping chapters, are helping to sponsor those events at the chapters. So be sure and contact your chapter representative and say, I'd like to check out that one. I'm also doing one about maintaining healthy relationships during COVID. Uh,
Wow.
so it started out as marriage, but not all relationships are marriages and partnerships. That
Right.
one's getting really, really popular. I've worked with NHF this year. They're also on the forefront of developing a whole mental health series that's going to be available for chapters to select. I did it, I helped them to create PTSD and mental health conditions. You
Wow.
are what you think, and hemophilia, excuse me, mental health 101. So that is happening, and
That's
so
wonderful.
that's happening on the East Coast and on the West Coast. We have we have our mutual buddy Patrick Lynch throwing all of his heart and efforts into this amazing film. I got to see just a little bit of it, and it's all about mental health in our community, real stories, and that's going to do wonders for
I
helping
love
people.
that. Gosh, it's so good to hear all the things that are going on. And one of the things that I do love about humankind is that we are all just resilient. There is this thing about, yes, we need to be safe, and we've got to shelter in place and all the things, social distancing, and take those measures that are so critical to our health right now. And at the same time, I love the fact that you haven't slowed down one bit. If it sounds like anything, you've sped up. So I love the fact that you're still out there doing what you do so well, and not only that, but you're here with us, and just being a part of this wonderful community and connecting even more. So thank you so much for all that you do, Debbie, and thank you for your leadership in this community, and we'll look forward to seeing you around at all the events.
Good. It's always a pleasure being with you, Jonathan.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, friend.